So I just want to take a few moments just to tell you a little bit about me and how I got to be a financial planner. And I always tell people, I never ever thought I'd be a financial planner. It was never on my radar, never thought about it in high school. At college, I wasn't studying anything in finances. I went to the U.S. Coast Guard Academy, which is kind of like West Point or Annapolis, where you go to school for 4 years and then you come out and you're an officer in the Coast Guard. And while I was there, I was actually a history and government major. So it wasn't even anything to do with finances. But what happened is at the Coast Guard Academy, you can't have a car until your senior year. So right before your senior year, as you're finishing your junior year, they give you a car loan. And they do it at just really low rates. Now this was back in the early 90s. I mean, today you can get car loans for practically 0% financing. But back then, car loans were 7 or 8%. So we got a car loan for 1.5%. Now I already had a car. I bought a car for my aunt. I used to mow yards as a kid. Took my money and bought her used car. So I didn't need the money, but I took it because back then I could have taken it and put it in a checking account and made money. So in between my junior and senior year, when I was on summer leave, I went back home. Now my dad was a high school teacher. He didn't know anything about money. He didn't know anything about finances. He was essentially working for a pension. But he had a friend of his who was a teacher and became a broker. You know, this guy was a trusted family friend. So I went home and basically got the sales pitch, and next thing I know, I had a couple annuities. I was sold some life insurance as an investment, and then a couple mutual funds. I didn't know any better. We trusted this guy, and basically I did whatever he told me to do. And what's funny is I bought all this insurance even though you can get insurance really cheap through the military. And in fact, the policies he sold me wouldn't pay out in the act of war. So not that you think of the Coast Guard at wartime, but hey, if there ever was a war, we'd become part of the Navy, and who knows. So anyway, I wasn't real sharp on finances, but I had 2 rules that I knew. 1, never spend more than you make, and 2, save at least 10% of your pay. So I went back, finished my senior year at the academy, and I got stationed in Hawaii, and I kept sending this guy money every month, making sure I'm giving him at least 10% of everything I make. Just kept sending it. I figured, hey, I'm doing what I need to do. I'd get my statements every month. I wouldn't even look at them. I'd just file them away. Just kept doing it. Doing what I need to do. Well, we get into the later 90s, and everybody's making these great returns on all the tech stocks, and started to wonder, what have I made on my money? So I pulled out all my old statements, grabbed my calculator, some paper, some pencils, figured out I'd pay as much in commissions as I made on my accounts. So I started wondering, whose retirement am I saving for here, his or mine? And that kind of opened up Pandora's box for me. At that point, I just became obsessed with finances. And in fact, when I was still in the Coast Guard, I started studying for my Certified Financial Planner designation. So even before I got out of the Coast Guard, I'd kind of decided that's what I wanted to do. I always had sort of an entrepreneurial approach, wanted to have my own business. And this, all of a sudden, was my most pressing interest. I really loved it. So I just kept studying and studying. And then when I actually got out of the Coast Guard, I took a little detour before I went into financial planning. I went to work for the Motley Fool. So many of you might have heard of the Motley Fool. It's a financial education website and company. Basically, they teach people to do investing in personal finances on their own. And it's got kind of an odd name, the Motley Fool, because the 2 brothers who founded it were both English majors. And in Shakespearean literature, the only one who could tell the king the truth was the fool. So their approach was to basically show you how to do it yourself and expose Wall Street for what it really was. And if you look at some of my other videos, you can pretty much tell what I think of Wall Street as well. So I worked there for a couple years, but my job there was Director of Member Services. So essentially anything where we actually interacted with the end consumer, you. So we had a customer service group where people would send questions in, we had a storefront, and then they had message boards. And so all 3 of those things I was basically in charge of. And we would get questions all the time. People would be asking us what should they do with their money. Now, the Motley Fool is prohibited by the SEC of giving individual advice. They could not say, you need to do a Roth IRA. They could write an article, hey, why a Roth IRA is a great idea, but we could never give anybody specific advice. So I just knew all of these people who were writing into us were eventually going to end up going down to the brokerages, being sold inappropriate products because that pays the biggest commissions for the brokers. So after a couple years of the Fool, I decided, you know what, I wanted to do the financial planning, that's what I'm going to do. But I did not want to work for commissions. I didn't want to work for any firms like that. So I applied to fee-only firms all the way from Maryland down to Florida, and happened to latch on with a firm in Florida. I worked there for about 4 years, and then my wife, who's from the Baltimore area, wanted to move back up to the Baltimore region, and so we did that, and I started Picket Fence Financial in 2006. And our slogan is to save folks from Wall Street. That's what we believe in. And that's basically how we're trying to do it. The biggest way is with the fee-only approach. So we don't sell you any products whatsoever. Everything we do, it's all based on the advice that we provide. The only people who pay us are our clients, so they know that when we recommend doing something, it's in their best interest, not driven by sales fees or commissions. The other thing that we've really focused on is developing a company that works for the client. Even most fee-only firms, they're structured that they have one business model. They do assets under management, and they include the planning for free. And a lot of times that just doesn't fit what the client's looking to achieve. So we created an a la carte practice. So if you just want to do some hourly planning, we can do that. If you want to have a planner sort of on your beck and call, we have retainers, and then we also do managed money for clients. But the big goal here was I wanted to create something that's completely different and completely customer focused. And I think as you start to look at some of the videos, you're going to find out that's exactly what we did. So I hope you'll spend a little bit more time checking out some of the videos, and we certainly look forward to meeting with you in the near future. Thanks.